Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. It's nice to see the gallery. Today, welcome to the Harrison Township Planning Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. May I please have a roll call, please?
Member Devlin?
Present.
Member Duncan, excused. Member Baccia, excused. Member Vyzanko?
Present.
Member Tominello, excused. Member Oparka, here. Chair Murray?
Present. Thank you. May I have approval of the agenda as presented, please?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May I have approval of our minutes from our last meeting, April 17th, 2025?
I have a comment.
Okay.
There is, let me see if I can find it now. When we were talking about waiving something, the wrong waived was used. So, let's see if I can find that.
Top, all commissioners survey.
Yeah, there's two places. One where Adam talks about waiving it, and it's waive instead of waive. And then when we actually did it in a motion.
So you're just changing?
There it is, there it is. It's the first paragraph of the item, of the rezoning for the North Marina renovation, or the hearing for the North Marina renovation. It's like 1, 2, 3. In that paragraph, like midway down. Mr. Young stated there are items he suggests waiving. So just to use the homonym, what is it, a homonym, or the other word that sounds
Okay.
just like waive,
Yep.
spelled.
So it's
And then-
just a spelling error?
Yeah, and then further on, same word is used. All the commissioners agreed that they had no issue waiving the survey and development impact statement requirement. So just adding an I think, makes it correct. Just a small little detail.
Yeah, no, it matters.
With that change, I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will support that with your changes.
All those in favor? Any other changes?
Can we talk on that motion?
Not on the minutes, right?
Yeah, I don't think so, not on the minutes.
They allowed us at the township.
I don't know.
On the,
No, it's
it's an
not a-
agenda item, you should be able to discuss the minutes.
At the end, then, in public comment, you may, but this is not a public hearing item. It's a matter of
It
business.
doesn't have to be a public hearing item.
Well, I
The
think-
township board allows speaking on the agenda items. The township
That's where-
board, they're your bosses.
I'm going to
That's where-
defer to Rosemary because
You know,
we've.
it's
comments
on the agenda. You don't normally take
Yeah, we don't.
comments, but it is,
Nothing says we
nothing
don't.
says you can't.
Okay, so we don't have it in writing that it's not a,
I don't, we'd have to check your bylaws, but I don't think so.
Yeah, precedent has been that comments from the floor is when we take this sort of comment.
so
on
you're
items.
asking for discussion on the motion prior to us voting?
Yes,
All right,
On the motion to correct a typographical error.
yeah, because that's what's in
Feminine.
discussion.
right.
Okay.
Changing the letter I.
I don't think we want to set this precedent.
I don't either, but we're going to, right now.
What?
Yeah, I can speak?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a question. This is April 17th minutes where the meeting where you approve the rezoning on the McEnray rezoning or,
Recommendation.
huh?
Recommendation. They didn't approve anything.
No, you recommended.
Correct.
Okay, that went subsequently to the board immediately, and you hadn't even approved these minutes yet. Is that the standard procedure? I don't think so.
I don't think, going to the township board doesn't prohibit, this board is standard procedure to approve the minutes at the next meeting, so.
yeah, we've been.
There's-
Right, but
no issue with
they
that.
should have then at least see that you were going to approve them. Well, okay, I'll have a lot more to say on that item at the end, but I think this is wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Sunstock. Okay, so all those in favor of approval of the minutes with the correction of the word waive and two locations? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our first item this evening, please.
Case number 9-25-SLU, Home Pros Ace Hardware LLC.
Applicant? Hi, come on up. Adam, did you want to start us out with a
Yeah, sure.
quick description?
And I'll just pull up one of their site plans here, so that can be up on screen.
Don't need readers for that.
So this is a request from the applicant Brian Saad for Ace Hardware on behalf of the property owner Mariners Point LLC, Mariners Point Shopping Center. Ace Hardware is seeking site plan and special land use approval to establish new outdoor sales, display, and storage area at their existing Ace Hardware store. So it's a new Ace Hardware store. The applicant is seeking to have several outdoor sales, display, and storage locations within the existing parking lot. They've identified the locations there. The two of them will be sales and display. One of them will just be storage. The property is zoned general commercial district. This is part of the larger shopping center property. The reason that this is a special land use is because the zoning ordinance requires outdoor display, storage, and sale of goods as an accessory use to a retail store like this, or a garden supply center like this, requires special land use review and approval. And then wherever there's a special land use review, you need to have some sort of a site plan, so it would be both site plan and special land use review by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has final say for review and approval of site plans and special land use requests. The state law, though, requires for any special land use that a public hearing is held. And that needs to be noticed in accordance with state law and township requirements. So public hearing was posted and noticed. And so this evening is the public hearing, opportunity for citizens to share their thoughts about this request, for or against. Did have in our review letter a number of items. I think this is probably a good enough background at this point. Maybe after the public hearing is finished, when it's up for discussion, we can go through the comments in my review letter. If you have any questions about this request and why it's here and what we're up to, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Thank you. The applicant is present. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Brian Saad. I'm from 49561 Regatta in Chesterfield. And I am here on behalf of Home Pros Ace. Adam did a nice job of summarizing what we're asking for. A lot of it is typical that you'll see in a retail center that has garden goods and flowers and things of such. So I think the main things that we've uncovered that you guys look at and are concerned about, obviously the fire department's review, checking the fire lanes. We did not alter any or propose to alter any fire lanes, and they were verified that they were correct as were on the site plan. So we looked into that for him. We are relocating our dumpster slightly, so we're not grabbing it from the front of the 16-mile road side. Now we're taking it more from the back, the alley side, cleaning that whole area up, because part of our proposal is to get rid of that shoddy truck well there. We want to fill it in and put a atrium type roof over it for our garden sales and flowers in there. Christmas time, we might even put some Christmas trees in there. But we are not proposing to change the footprint at all of that truck well. We're using the existing truck well footprint, so it doesn't encroach on any other areas that you'd have to look into the ordinances and see what we've, if we've encroached on anything. The dumpster, we didn't even have to alter anything for the recommended radius for the truck. We got plenty of room for the truck, and that's shown on our one of our plans also. The three areas are pretty well shown on the plans. One is, again, behind the building. That is pretty much strictly for storage. Most of our stock is back there. The area right in front of the store on the 16 Mile Road side is where we'll have most of our display of our flowers and plants. And we hope to open the doors all summer long, roll out lawnmowers, roll out wheelbarrows and all our stuff, and have it in that proposed railed off area. If it's railed off like we're proposing for security and safety, it makes the package, make sense that way. So you could see in the rendering, we have a full rendering. Is it on? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you guys have it there. And you can see on the rendering the type of products that we're going to have back there. And, the lawnmowers we'd roll back in at night, flowers and things we'd keep outside. Very typical to what you've seen in any of the Lowe's, Home Depots, Menards type of setup when they have their garden center. We do have one area that we're proposing that is right on Metro Parkway. Very close to the walkway that connects the main path. And that is going to be pretty much promotional stuff. So maybe a Saturday we might have a barbecue. We might throw a tent in those spots, spark the barbecues up. Some of the vendors may come and we'll have sales on barbecues and accessories and things like that. It could be a Mother's Day special thing where we set up flowers and things. We don't propose, and we don't think we're going to get into anything that's just going to stay in those spots. It's just so when we do use them, we did go in front of you guys, and this is what we're proposing. Then that did uncover a kind of a discrepancy in these. There was handicap spots that were virtually useless, and they will be affected by that area, but they were never able to be used anyway. So it's a good thing. We're actually moving them to 16 Mile Road side. So we're not losing any spots. We're just moving them. And they're actually closer to our front or to our side door. We uncovered that little thing, so that's kind of a good thing. Other than that, I guess we're here for any of your questions. And
Thank you. Well, this is listed as a public hearing. So if we want to go ahead and open the public hearing, and then we'll ask questions, let the public speak. And then if you could pay attention to all of the public questions when they come about. Okay, thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Oparka to open the public hearing for case 0925 SLU for Home Pros Ace Hardware LLC. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Would anybody like to come up and add a comment? 3 minutes. Please be kind.
Okay. First off, the parking lot. I've gone around with the road commission.
Oh, could you tell us who you are, please?
Oh, I'm William Vogan. I live directly behind what would be that new building they're putting up.
Okay.
The road commission, dealing with the road commission about the first entrance off of 16 Mile Road where there's constantly accidents. They said that's an engineered parking lot, nothing can be changed. So I don't know how that affects this, but that's number one. Number two is, looking out my kitchen window, I see this much of dirt, bags of dirt sticking up over the wall. That's what I see from my house. Okay. The building they want to put up, is this a temporary structure? or is this a permanent structure that's going to be there for the next 100 years? And it doesn't say, it says this is for temporary outside use as far as I'm concerned with this letter right here. Parking spots, it's an engineered parking lot. They're taking, not just taking the parking spots on the side of the building, they're taking the outside storage parking lot and removing them spots too. Is there enough parking? I just looking at this, and I want to make sure there's no lighting that's going to shine into my yard, because lighting has been a problem already. I found out tonight that there was a meeting that I never got a letter for, when they proposed the boxes on the side of the building with lights on them, which was never allowed before, but there was a meeting somehow. You can ask him when he can explain that when he gets up here. We were never notified of any meeting. There's been 2 meetings, the ZBA and this one. So, as far as the dumpster's fine. The building I'm concerned with, because I'm going to see it. Now, the outside storage, the outside sales and storage area out there, I'm going to see that from my house too. Way back when this was a Sears hardware store, they used nothing but the building square footage. The outside area right now where he has the the opening doors and stuff, that was the patio for outside sales when Sears was there. I don't know how that got changed, but we had never had when Sears was there, we never had any outside anything. No one ever bothered anybody. Not that they're bothering me now, except the stuff you can see, but the stuff they're putting in there, how do we address it? Now, this is outside sales. How do you address outside sales? Well, things ain't going good, so they put cars up there for sale. It says outside sales. How do we address that, or how do you address that to make sure that this is not going to be an eyesore eventually? I mean, I'm not saying they're going to do it, I'm just saying what if. So, they're using this right now, they've already got this, and I don't believe there was ever a temporary approval for anything they put up there. They still have an open sign, open banner. Banners are illegal. And they have banners over there along the 16-mile road, which my understanding is they're illegal. So maybe they can address that. I'd like to, if he comes up with some answers, I'd like to be able to rebut if I could.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sunset.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on speaking on this item, but I do know Mr. Vogan. And I think one thing that he did mention is if there is a wall behind that site, and if anything's extending up over top of that wall, that's got to be stopped. That's why the wall's there, to eliminate that. So with that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm one of the owners of Ace, Home Pros Ace, and about the dirt above the wall, we just got a truckload today. Everything's below the wall. His house sits above the wall. So at the angle he's looking at, it looks like the dirt's above the wall, but it's not. That's how Scott's ships everywhere. They're all the same height. We did address the lighting for him. He made it be known that it was shining in his windows, so we put, baffles on the lights to restrict the light, so they restrict down instead of out. He still complains, so we replaced all the lights. So they were 80 watts, we moved it to 30 watts directly down the building. Now hardly any of the parking lots lit, but we have security lights, cameras, so we need lighting to make sure what we have there is secure. Other than that, you want to stop?
Thank you. Anyone else? Uh, Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll just address some of the comments that were made also. So the structure that we're proposing is a permanent structure that we're proposing. We want to keep it there for at least 75 years. The storage higher than the wall, Dennis just touched on, but that also, obviously we've had some stock there, but we haven't had the full amount of spaces that we're asking for. So it's going to be much easier even to cut them down substantially if we had to. So we'll watch that. We did actually measure it. It's not higher, but we'll have so much more room when we get approved on the spaces. But as far as the parking, there is the engineer and everybody calculated, looked at the ordinance. This is very odd for a center this size to have this much excess space per the ordinance. There is 539 spaces that are needed, and there's 781 spaces on the site. So that wasn't even, close to being an issue, which usually when we're up here for these types of things it is, and we're asking for variances on that. But there's plenty of parking on the site. As far as the way it sits now, I mean, we're going with the reaction of our customers, which is everybody from Harrison Township, and it has been so well received, and they're just Googling over how proud they are that that is their Ace Hardware, their store, and that's what we wanted. And we think everything we're proposing is, so much in the realm of good retailing, high-class retailing, and something that everybody should be proud of. So I think I've covered most of the concerns, and if there's any more, I'll come back up.
Is the open banner still there? Yes. And how long is that going to remain up?
About 5 minutes after I leave.
Well, I was going to ask on that, according to the sign ordinance, a banner is a temporary sign, and a permit is obtained for that, and the permit can be extended by the building official. So I was going to ask, has your temporary sign permit been extended by the building official? Otherwise, it's 30 days. I mean, you can ask to have it extended, but the permits go in 30-day cycles.
We're so busy, I don't even think we need it anymore. You know what I mean? I walk the floor every night.
Well, I'm just talking about the ordinance.
I'm crazy about this.
When,
It's been needed in this township for a long time, right? We invested our money here, right? We're risking.
I just wanted to address the issue of the banner sign being illegal, and it's legal if it's permitted. So,
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask Melody, did the township send out notification to 300, 300 feet from every edge of the property? Okay, so do we know if a letter went to this gentleman, to this resident? If he's directly behind?
This is not the meeting I'm talking about. I got this one.
You did get this one?
I got this one.
Well, that's the only one that we can talk about.
And he attended the ZBA meeting,
Oh,
which was
okay. Do
the
you wanna
other meeting.
Bring up the ZBA?
Where the ZBA granted a variance for the sign that is on top of the building. That was the only thing at that meeting that was approved. No lighting, no
No need for any-
variances for lighting or anything. It was strictly that sign that you see in the rendering on the side
Got
of
it.
the glass windows.
Yep. There. Thank you. Anything else come out of that?
No, and that was posted on our town, as any other meeting would be, any other ZBA meeting would be posted.
Thank you. Okay, so we've established the product is not above the wall, although it may appear from the residence location, but it is not above the wall. The open banner has been addressed. The meeting discussion has been addressed. The lighting has been changed. Parking spots have been addressed.
Can I ask a question on the parking?
Please.
This is just more of a general question for Adam. How is it that you calculate how every tenant in a large shopping center, so do you keep track as each one does a build out with their square footage? How is it that you determine the parking?
Yeah, thankfully, the ordinance provides just a general shopping center parking standard. So you don't have to total up each individual tenant. So the standard based on I think is the one that he cited there, yeah, which is shown on the plan.
Yeah.
So based on the shopping center standard, the ordinance would require 539 spaces. That's the current ordinance
For the
requirement.
entire center?
For the entire site. Except the McDonald's is not part of it. The McDonald's is a separate property.
Parcel.
You know, certainly this development was installed prior to, I'm sure, our current zoning ordinance rules and likely our current parking requirements in the zoning ordinance. But they do have 781 spaces at the site. So based on the ordinance requirement, they have more than sufficient number of parking spaces. So it is okay for them to take up the number of parking spaces that they're asking to take up per the ordinance. And I think from a practical standpoint too, this is the extreme north end of the shopping center. It's not even a through area, so in terms of taking up some parking spaces, this is maybe a lesser trafficked portion of the site in general.
Okay, thank you for clarifying how you apply that ordinance.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions, actually. First off, welcome to the township. This has been way overdue to have something like this back in the city, and I will tell you the design for the outside patio storage area really brightens that area up. It really dresses it up. I know I've got to take and put my code official hat on and talked about the handicap parking spaces. This is where I think we're going to have a disagreement. Relocating those parking spaces from the side of the building to the outside doesn't comply with the accessibility requirements by the state of Michigan. And let me explain why. Parking spaces in a mercantile use like we have here has to be located within the area that is the closest to the entrance of the building. And if you look at Chapter 11 of the building code, or if you look at the ANSI requirements, it'll talk to say, those are governed by the state, okay? There's not much we can do there. We took spaces that were up against the building by the ramp where you're going to now be a patio, and you're pushing them out along Metro Parkway. Unfortunately, that takes it and pushes it much further out. Right now, I think you're 28 feet according to your site plan to the curb from the east parking space to the building. I know we have parking spaces on the east side of the building and they are existing. That would actually create something more useful. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever gone through the challenges of a wheelchair, a walker, scooter. Speaking from someone who spent 6 months doing that last year, and trust me, I've been enforcing this for now over 29 years. It gives a different perspective. So if we're going to relocate the parking spaces, we need to find a place that's much closer than where they are currently sitting. And I'll let you comment on that in a second. But one thing I do want to mention is the existing parking spaces need to be identified, and the parking lot needs to be identified to the building. And that could be something as simple as just striping the parking lot so people are aware. Kroger's has it outside their door. There's not nearly as much traffic here as down at Kroger, but let's take into consideration the human element, the accessibility requirements. That's pretty important, and it's not a big ticket item. So the accessibility is something that we've really got to talk about, and I'm sure you'll have an idea by the time you come up here The second thing, the proposed covered area over the existing ship loading dock. What is it? That's constructed out of wood?
You can come up here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, the frame is going to be proposed when we go for our building permit as steel columns and beams, and then the roof itself, we're going to propose wood timber type.
Okay, all right. That's not going to be a condition of any vote tonight, but I'm going to put it on record, to bring it to your attention now. Mariners Point is considered and classified as what we call an unlimited area building. How do we get to that? The delineation is separation from property lines. So now that building gets so big by creating firewalls and throughout, but it has the 45 to 60 feet all the way around it. That's how your stores, your Home Depots and everything get built. They become unlimited area. But when they become unlimited, they are also considered non-combustible buildings. Your structure that you're looking at with the roof trusses being wood will have to go to metal. Because and just so you know,
Yeah, that's not a problem.
you don't want that final hour after your trusses are ordered that you can't use them. I'm dealing with that with other big box stores that want to put hot dog stands outside their buildings. They're wood, they can't do it. So now you're seeing trailers type thing. So that's just an FYI for you. I think that, well, actually, that's it. And then you guys address the lighting into the neighbors, and then we can always put a condition on the height of the storage along that wall to pacify the concerns from the adjoining properties. But I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking for the handicap parking. So.
Sure. Yeah, the structure that you were just talking about, the steel trusses, is absolutely no problem. And we did not get into a big study with the architect and things like that and the building code, because we know we have to go for a building permit after
Right.
it gets approved. And it probably would have came up in his code compliance. He would say, Brian, we can't do this. So
Sure.
that's not a problem.
That was just an FYI.
Yep, thank you. As far as the handicap parking spots, now, we did talk about it with some of the architects when we were talking about that. Now, are you aware, though, that this is a dual frontage? We do have an entrance there. That's our garden center entrance. So the spots that we moved that were the furthest from the building were there on the other side. If you look at the outdoor storage on 16 Mile Road, there was two or three, I think there was two spots. Those were not usable. If someone was in the spots that we're proposing to use for storage, if someone was parked there, there's two cars couldn't back into each other. So they were not usable, as you can see it there. You see that? So those were
Yep.
unusual. So we're virtually taking those and moving them closer to an entrance of the building. It's a dual entrance building. And we have a cash register set up there. We're hoping that our regulars in the public get used to, this is their little, that corner's dead. And we want them to say, God, we don't have to go through the main lot and that. We go to the side, we go to the side door, we go in, we go to the garden center. So these parking spots are actually closer than the original ones. So that's what we looked at, and we thought that was
Is there a
very
ramp?
viable.
Is there a ramp in that corner that people can utilize?
Yeah, that's why we cut the rail off right where we did. There's a handicap ramp right there.
Your other plan shows it here. Is there a ramp here that people can get in? Where's the entrance on this?
It's just west of the yellow line. The yellow line indicates, yes, right there. And that's where the handicap ramp is. So that's why we line those spots up. They're virtually 20 feet away from it.
Entrance here?
Yes,
Ramp here?
yes.
So this is not going to impact this, but it's not the shortest, from here to here. From here to here is 28 feet. From here to these is 27 feet, so this is clearly going to be more.
Well, I was talking the spots that we took away. The spots that we proposed to change were the ones way up by the sidewalk.
These are the two you're taking out.
And also those two, yes.
These are the two I'm talking about. You have plenty of parking in here, and it's a progressive scale on how many required handicap parking you have in a ratio to the overall.
What happens to these parking spaces?
Yeah, can't they
just
be
be
moved?
right there?
Pardon me?
Couldn't you make the handicap spots right here? This is the ramp, that's where they were before. Move them to whatever's in that 4 parking space there.
Yeah, Dennis, would it work out best right next to the ramp or up against the curb? The south curb, or I should say the west curb. Like if they're looking for us to move these closer and slide them
Well,
down.
you also
aren't you
have
gonna be-
your dumpsters here, right?
Oh, so just
yeah.
right-
It seems like a no-brainer to me that those are going to be existing.
And Mike, when you mentioned that we would identify them, you just meant parking striping, right?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned that you would hope that we would identify them, is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm talking the parking spaces themselves. If we're crossing, if you're gonna cross here, you're gonna cross here, just marking the asphalt. So people understand, first off, so it's identified.
So with our
And let's
striping,
hope in the winter months that, oh, sorry about that.
What in the wild sports is going on here?
you're looking for us to clarify with parking lot striping and cross-hatching and,
Yeah, I'm not looking at, we're not talking big ticket item.
no, no,
We're
no.
talking, and I know that this is on the far end of the complex and traffic is a lot less than it is
There's
on the
no-
other end.
yeah.
But, I know people are through there. It's just to bring attention that, hey, people are gonna be walking through here. So.
Yeah.
And as for the handicap, if you guys are good with putting it over in here, I'll just put that as a condition.
Okay.
You guys can figure it out how your final design comes through. But if we're gonna put it up on the north side of the building by the ramp, I mean, if it's gotta move down a space, it's still up against the building.
That's fine.
And I get handicap parking spaces, they don't get used a lot, right? But when we're working with a public act on accessibility, we really don't have much room on that. So they're there in case we need them. And if they're not there when you need them, well, then it's a bigger issue.
That is a bigger
So-
issue. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I have a question for maybe Adam, Rosemary.
Wait, can I just close public?
Oh, yeah, we can close public hearing, yeah.
Are you-
Oh, yeah, we certainly can. Hold on one second, please.
I just didn't know.
Do you not want to include any additional discussion?
Well,
We
usually-
usually only let
normally you
people
have
speak once.
One time, right?
Yeah.
The public speaks, then you close it, and then you ask your questions and you debate.
Right. So, and so I, right, and I know you want to speak again, but the ruling that we have established is one time only. Well, it's not a back and forth thing, we're to elicit as much information out of the applicant as we can, and accept your comments as well. And then we have an open discussion among the board to seek additional information and satisfy the needs of the applicant, and making sure that everything meets the ordinance's requirements. And so the special hearing is, if you can think of it as parentheses, that's, all right, let us close the public hearing and we'll bring this up. May I have a motion to close the public hearing? Is there any additional conversation from Mr. Bardot? Before we close the public hearing, is there? 3 minutes, sir. Or less.
Okay, C. William Bardell, 37865 Point Rosa, clean cut, do-gooder boy next door. I just want to know if that entrance on the side is going to be open all year round, and if there's indeed going to be climate control in that building for handicapped people to come in the side. Because I know with these other stores, it could be Menards or Home Depot, what have you, they lock those doors. So is indeed to be in compliance with the handicap parking, et cetera, are those doors indeed going to be accessible 12 months out of the year, which is going to include some possible climate control? I'm not saying you I don't know what the rules are on that, but I do know that if you're going to have an entrance, you got to have that 12 months out of 12. So you don't bolt that shut in October. So that's my question. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Bordeaux. Anything additional? May I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. All right. Amanda, you wanted to?
Yes, so I guess this would be a question for Adam. My question is about the outdoor sales and storage area along 16 Mile, because it sounds like that is temporary use, but only on occasions. So how do we handle that, I guess?
So I believe we've done this for others, maybe even the Kroger has a designated area for seasonal sales and display. This is a special land use to allow as an accessory to a garden center, supply store like this, to allow them to have outdoor sales and display areas. So they can, if approved, this is a one-time approval, and as long as they comply with whatever conditions you attach to it and what they show on their site plan, they wouldn't have to come back to you for approval every year or anything like that. So, one of the conditions that you could attach is a certain time frame, but, I think generally speaking, you're asked to indicate, is this okay, or are these locations acceptable for outdoor sales and display? And then we leave it up to them to choose what times of the year they want to take advantage of the outdoor sales and display.
So they don't have to come back for the
They would not.
compliance review
Correct,
and
that's
stuff with
that's
other
correct.
temporary
Yep.
uses that we've had.
That's right.
I think that's what we've done in the past with.
Yeah.
Same thing, Kroger.
But I know, like, we changed it a few years ago where they can come back for 2 years in a row and then have a 5-year
Yeah.
thing.
It's a seasonal.
But we don't have to do any of that if we make a condition that they're.
We know because they've told us that they are looking to have seasonal display for their products. The ordinance doesn't call it seasonal display. The ordinance calls it outdoor sales, display, and storage associated as an accessory use associated with a retail store of this nature. So,
And this is what we
So-
allow for like marinas that have boats out.
no,
front.
so that's a
Okay.
different, separate standard. That's truly a temporary use.
Okay.
Right. And again, so we shouldn't treat this as a temporary use, even though we know that they've said
Okay.
that they're only going to use it temporarily. You should
Okay.
look at this as, is it appropriate to have these outdoor areas year-round if they chose to do it?
Right, it could be Christmas trees.
Yes.
Yes, that's a
Corn
good point.
stalks.
He did mention
Yep.
that. Corn stalks, that would be fabulous.
It's literally a special land use.
It is,
Special land use
I would take
approval
corn
for
stalks. I don't have
outdoor
to drive out to
sales.
Romeo to get that.
So I think that the question, amazingly, that was raised about will that door stay open if the ADA spaces are moved is a good one. If the spaces are moved and the ramp is there, but the door isn't open, how do we ensure that?
They do have handicap spots and a ramp in the front for the other door.
Okay,
So I think
So you
as
can
long
see
as they
that.
would have that side door, we'll call it the side door,
Mm-hmm.
open, if you require the handicap spaces to be immediately adjacent to against the wall, as kind of we just discussed, then those spaces would be sufficient when that door is open. And when it's not, and the only entrance is through the front, there are those spaces immediately across.
okay, so that it would be compliant to approach it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so since we are talking about that structured space, and I remember when this was a medical facility, that area was for PT, and it was used for PT year-round. So, and so you may want to come back up to address a couple more questions, please. So is that area under full heat and air conditioning 24/7, 365?
Yes, that space has all the requirements that the main space has with the CFNs, the AC, the heat, everything. It's a fully heated and cooled.
And so the doors would be then accessible during operational hours, just like the front door is?
It can be, now, we had it,
Or
you
the
know,
one that's nearest the ramp? Let's address that
yeah.
one.
If, indeed, I do not know if that is part of an ordinance or code, that if it's an entrance, it has to be 12 months out of the year. I don't know. We had it open when we first opened, there's nobody comes over there. We can leave it open if that makes it compliant. There's no
I'm not
reason-
talking physically open, but available to be open in
Unlocked,
front.
yeah, we can keep it
that's-
unlocked, and if that's part of an ordinance that we, you know. we have
Well,
to-
if we're gonna, if there's gonna be parking places on that side of the building, closest to that entrance, then obviously that door is gonna have to be accessible and
Yeah.
open.
I think Adam's
Well,
point was that's not the
no.
only ADA.
No,
Yeah.
it isn't, no,
Yeah, so-
but,
No, that door does not have to be open unless the building code says so, and that's outside of our jurisdiction.
so why are we
If
making
that
them move the
door
handicap?
is being used for customer entry, then the point is,
Ah.
there should be parking space, ADA spaces
Okay, all right,
available.
if, big
Yes.
word,
Or when they choose to open it
okay,
for customer access.
okay, got it.
Now, if they're required to keep it open for emergency or fire code issues, then the fire chief or fire marshal, the building official will regulate that, tell them
All right,
that that's what they need.
all right.
There's,
Can I give a
Sorry, I needed that
clarification?
clarification, yes, please.
I can give you a clarification on this. Okay, the reason I brought up the handicap parking is because they're being relocated to accommodate the outdoor sales. In the event somebody comes, and wants to come to Ace and wants to get something from the outdoor sales, we have to find handicap parking that's closer for them. Where you had them was further away. If they're going to come for seasonal stuff out of here, they're gonna utilize those spaces. In January, February, and March, if there's nothing, they're not gonna come in, they're gonna park in the front of it. So if this is open for functioning sales and seasonal Christmas trees, corn stalks, lawn equipment, whatever it is, then you're gonna have them open because it's gonna be active. But in January, it's in the over season, they're gonna park in the front because chances are that's gonna be salted, plowed, and
Right, clear.
where this may not be. So understanding you're going to have an increase in activity, increase in occupant load, and the need for additional, potentially the need for additional handicap spaces are going to be tied to that outdoor sales. So if there's no activity, no sales going on out there for the winter months, those really don't become a point. Those become a requirement as accessibility only during those functioning, those, let's call them the peak seasons or peak months. Anything beyond that, you're going to park in the front. And I've parked in the front to go to my PT in there. So, and it
So
is
you know.
completely, and I can tell you, I was in there, been in here many times. That is all, you guys, all you do is just remodel the inside. You didn't change anything by enclosing and increasing, adding heat or air conditioning. So, so I think that all of that is, that's where I was going at with the handicap parking. So that, all it takes is one call, right? And then all of a sudden, everything goes through and it's that risk factor. So.
we see
but-
that. That's what, we'll just flip-flop them. That's taken care of.
Yeah.
So
All
who
right.
enforces that at the township level?
I'm sorry?
Who enforces ADA parking compliance at the township level?
Actually, it's building, planning, but obviously, and Adam, you can,
Ordinance.
do you have anything to
Ordinance
add to it?
officer?
It would be, no, because actually, the ordinance officer, these are all in the building code, so you have to be registered as the actual code officials. Or ordinance, it does not.
building
But
official.
we do have one in the township that does have his inspector. So I think it's however they set it up, but as long as they carry the Act 407 credentials, they can enforce that. So,
So if we have a condition that the ADA parking complies with the ADA rules, that would satisfy your concerns?
yep.
As Adam brought up, typically a very large concern on an entrance is the exit and the egress fire marshal. It currently has a panic bar and an exit sign over it. It will remain in that condition, so we comply there.
Very common.
The structure they're putting up, if they could wall the back of that off, so I wouldn't see it on my house. They might enjoy it too. I'm just bringing this up, just listen. Nobody was talking.
You know what, we're probably going to bring that up in discussion. So,
Is it a fence behind it?
it
or
looks like a
a
6-foot
wall?
It's 6-foot
wall.
concrete
It says
wall.
proposed 6 foot.
Yeah, it's a
What-
6-foot wall today.
What are we talking about? Along the western property line?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a masonry, 6-foot tall screening wall.
Oh.
Solid masonry screening.
Which meets our ordinance between
Yep.
designations.
The back of the
Well,
structure of the building.
hold on, sir, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 6 foot masonry wall.
Yeah, that's the screening. Yeah, that's the standard screening. They meet the requirement. Are you the house with the garage and the,
Yes, I am.
and the,
My son lives on one side.
motorhome?
And my daughter lives on the other side.
okay, thank you for clarification. Okay, any other questions for the applicant, or is there any additional information that you would like to impart? Okay, as the owner, anything else that you want to bring? And if you could come up to the, just so that we get it on record? Into the microphone, please, sir.
Just the truck loading well, it was an eyesore, really. It was useless, just sitting there. I was sitting back there thinking, I'm looking at him thinking, man, what can we do with that? And I said, let's fill it in. And I was like, oh my God. And it clicked, like, perfect. And we made usable space of it. It's going to be beautiful. I don't know why you'd want a screen wall because we're going to make it beautiful, right? It's not like it's going to be an eyesore. It's going to have plants and flowers and right now, I mean, it's beautiful over there. I mean, it's garden. It's a garden center. Why would you want to wall off a garden center? I don't know.
Well, your
Masonry
wall
wall.
between the residential
I mean,
and
it's all
the commercial
subjective.
is according to our ordinance, so you're fine there with the 6 foot.
Yeah, and I'd just like to clarify that if something were to happen to that wall, then the owners of the shopping center would be required to repair it to the same height, right?
That's
6
right.
foot.
Okay.
And it takes away the garbage can. The garbage can's an eyesore from 16. We're going to have a beautiful wall closing that off so you're not looking at the dumpster. It's actually big time improving the site. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Okay, anything additional to share? Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I could kind of go through a couple of things
Yes,
in my
please.
review letter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's get to that.
This is a small portion of a large existing site, and the scope of the request is somewhat limited, just being the outdoor sales area. So there are some things that would normally be required on a site plan per the zoning ordinance. For example, topography of the site, contour lines. These are a survey of all structures outside of the property within 200 feet of the property. Site lighting details, that's not part of what the request today. A complete and detailed landscaping plan, again, they're just looking at the outdoor display and storage spaces. Additionally, the ordinance requires for any special land use, a development impact statement to be submitted. but the planning commission may waive that when you determine that, that the information that would be included in a development impact statement is not necessary to conduct a review of the application. And then also with regard to traffic, that you would determine that the development will not generate significant amount of traffic above and beyond current traffic conditions at the site. So I would recommend that you waive those site plan requirements. Just a couple of the dumpster area behind the existing well, they're showing a new concrete screen wall on the I guess that would be the south side there. We just need to have a detail of that screen wall, a cross-section drawing of that screen wall. So that's something that should be added. And then one of my comments was with regard to that 6-foot-tall concrete screening wall along that western property line and their proposal to have an outdoor storage area. I think it does make sense to, you could maybe as a condition limit the height of materials that are stored there to no taller than 6 feet, the height of the existing screen wall for the benefit of the property owners in that, on the other side of that screen wall. The other thing I wanted to mention is the comment about, could they sell anything in those outdoor sales area? You might think, well, it kind of seems self-evident that they would only sell things that Ace Hardware actually sells as part of their operation. That would seem to be the case, but I suppose somebody could think, well, I'll just try and sell my car and park it there for, during the winter time or something like that, and they could claim, well, it's approved as an outdoor storage area. So that may be something that you could attach as a condition, that it's only for the display and storage of materials that are actually part of the sales of the business.
Yeah, how do we word that? Because boats.
It's a retail store. You can simply word it that the only thing that can be displayed or stored or sold are materials that are sold by that store, whatever business it is, whether it's
Customary,
Ace or a future store who
Or
wants to.
customary to Ace.
Yeah.
Customary to the business in that location. And then the other thing, I just wanted to remind you of this being a special land use, that you do have your 8 standards for review of a special land use. And I did provide some comments in that regard. In my mind, the biggest one was with regard to that outdoor storage area that's immediately adjacent to the residential area. Certainly could be an impact, and so I think appropriate conditions would help minimize any impacts there.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Chair
Okay.
Murray, do we want to, before we dive into the 8 standards, I know they said they would address everything in the fire department's letter, make sure we're all good with that, and address anything that was in the engineer's letter.
Okay.
Just so we can cross
Cross
those
those off the list.
off
Let's do that.
and get to the 8 standards.
Let's cover let's start with the engineer's letter. Hi,
Hello,
how are you?
good.
Through a sea of microphones.
So my review was generally limited to ingress, egress, not minimizing flow traffic-wise, and really have no comments based on what they're submitting. The only comment I really had was if they're going to fill in the ramp area, that should be done with compaction and materials similar to the existing parking lot, which that wasn't provided, but it's not to say that they can't provide that when they're doing it.
Do you have a copy of the engineer's letter and the planner's letter? Okay, all right, thank you. And so you understand what he's asking? Okay. According to, yeah, sure.
Again, when I did read the comments of the engineer in the compaction, I am used to, we know we have to go for a building permit, and those are usually things that go through the typical building review, and, they're going to give us the compaction, the type of materials, and, yeah, we expect it to be, to meet the ordinance or above, actually.
Okay. Mr. Tanner, anything else?
That is all.
Okay, what was the other?
The fire.
Fire. Yes, I do.
Which it does say at the end is if they agree to fix all the items in this letter, the fire department will have no issue with the approval of this site plan.
So, no designer seal found on the plans, incorrect zoning on the plans. The plans do not show the egress of the fencing that is proposed. And the revised plans do not show the current placement of the fire hydrants. And then, that's April 3rd.
Yeah, egress right here.
Did we get the updated?
Well, they indicate gates here.
Well, we received this after. This is dated April 14th.
Yeah, if the fire marshal's letter was dated April
3rd,
3rd,
yeah,
then it's not reflective of the latest.
of the new information.
submittal, Which in part was meant to address some of the fire
Yeah.
marshal's comments.
So has the new information been supplied to the fire marshal? Okay. And we didn't receive anything additional from him then? So he's letting his letter, so his comments, if everything can be remediated, he has no issues. And so. Yeah. Yep.
might have just stamped
don't think he's seen it.
online at a later date, but
Say that again, please?
they might have just been stamped at a later date because I just did them electronically, so.
Okay.
I'm not on the exact date.
So are you indicating that the fire marshal may not have seen these?
He did.
Oh, he
but
did.
He might have received a copy that wasn't timestamped.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay, so fire hydrants are on the revised copy. Does the revised copy show the egress of the fencing that is proposed? It does.
Yeah, it's got two gates on it.
Incorrect zoning on the plans?
I believe that's been corrected.
That's been corrected, thank you. No designer seal, you said that has been corrected now? Melody? No designer seal found on the plans, number 4?
Yeah, that has been corrected as well.
Thank you. As of the date of this letter, we have not received in writing what is planned to be stored in the proposed new building. I have received verbal statements on what is planned to be stored there, but we require it in writing. And
Yeah,
is
we can
that-
just add that as.
We
a
can add that as a
Yeah.
conditional.
Yeah, I would say.
And then clarification on if the layout of the site will be changing. The rendering state a different layout than is currently there. The applicant stated to me that there are no changes to the concrete design, but the plans and renderings conflict. And
So
I,
that's been addressed by the latest plans that have been submitted.
By these.
Specifically, this one that's up on screen right
yeah,
now.
yeah, which is this page here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
He's more concerned with very permanent access.
Okay, do we have
Let
any,
me see, you said the letter from the fire marshal was from April 3rd?
April
Yeah.
3rd?
Okay, that is, I believe, the second one then. 'Cause I know he had sent an original one, that one was on.
The April 3rd letter is the one that's attached
Yeah,
to,
his date is April 3rd.
okay, yeah, that's the one that's attached to our list of information. Okay. Okay, all right, any questions regarding the fire letter? Okay, let's jump to Selfridge.
I didn't
Do not have
read that
any
one.
issues. George is green, okay. Based on our review of the proposed special land use, it would be consistent with the AQs and the FAA land use recommendation. So Selfridge does not have any noted issues. Any questions regarding the Selfridge letter? Okay. Let's go to the planner's letter.
So I went through the items for you in my letter. Again, the waiver of the information requirements, wanting the detail of the screen wall, and as we discussed, limiting, condition limiting the height of the storage materials to no taller than 6 feet. Also limiting the materials that could be displayed, sold, or stored to that which is actually part of the business operation. And then the other thing in my letter, I just list out the 8 standards for your review and consideration.
And thank you for that, because that will save me from finding them again in my book. Okay, do we want to go through the 8 standards?
Yes.
All right. The proposed use shall be of location, size, and character, that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding neighborhood and applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is to be located. I think that's accurate.
Yep.
Anyone oppose that? Item 2, the proposed use shall be of nature that it will make vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than is normal for the district involved, taking into consideration vehicular turning movement in relation to routes of traffic flow, proximity, and relationship to intersections, adequacy of site distances, location, and access of off-street parking and provision for pedestrian traffic, with particular attention to minimizing pedestrian vehicular conflicts. Anyone feel that's an issue?
No.
Item 3, the proposed use shall be designed as to the location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation of any such proposed use to eliminate any possible nuisance emanating therefrom, which might be noxious to the occupants of any other nearby uses permitted, whether be reason of dust, noise, fumes, vibration, smoke, or lights. Anyone?
Project would comply provided that a condition is placed to keep items stored outside on the west side, no more than 6 feet high, which is the height of the screening wall.
And
So if we put a limit, if we put a limit on 6 feet high regardless of the height of the fence, regardless of the height of the wall.
You can simply say the current height of the screen wall.
Okay,
It's true, it could be
all
8 feet.
right, current height, got it.
I'm sure it's been taken care of, because now they know about it, they didn't know about it before.
Proposed use shall be of such that the proposed location and height of the building or structures and location, nature and height of walls, fences, and landscaping will not interfere with or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings of unreasonably affect their value. Well, it's an existing location, it's already established, it meets the requirements, it has the 6-foot wall.
So I find it in compliance.
Okay, anyone oppose? Okay. The proposed use shall relate harmoniously with the physical and economic aspects of the adjacent land uses in regard to prevailing shopping habits, convenience of access by prospective patrons, continuity of development, and need for particular services and facilities in specific areas of the township. Anyone? The proposed use will service a public convenience at the proposed location. The proposed use is so designated, located, planned, and operated so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. The proposed use shall not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the vicinity in which it is to be located and will not be detrimental to existing and/or other permitted land uses within the zoning district. Does anyone have any issue with the 8 standards? I do not.
I do not.
I do not either, with some conditions that
Okay.
we could propose.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and talk about what we would like to see as a limit or as a restriction to help a motion?
Could I make a motion?
You could. Are we ready?
Yes.
Are there any other, let me just check, are there any other questions for anyone? Any other issue, statements, comments? Okay. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the case number 09-25-SLU, a special land use permit for outdoor sales and storage, finding that the proposed use is in compliance with the 8 standards listed in the zoning ordinance for special land use review, subject to the following conditions. One, that it is limited, outdoor sale and storage is limited to items customary to the business that is in the location. Number 2, that the item, every item listed in the fire marshal's letter is addressed. Number 3, that outdoor items that are stored along the perimeter be no higher than the current height of the wall. So let me say that again, so you get no higher than the current height of the wall that screens the property. That the ADA parking is compliant with the rules, the ADA rules set forth for the shopping center. That the tenants or occupants obtain sign permits for temporary signs when they use them from the township, and that the development impact statement be waived.
Traffic study as well?
Yes, that's part of the
part of it.
development impact statement.
That's covered by the.
Got it.
Can I,
Is it-
can I second and add something?
You can.
Okay. I would say also include that they are going to include the detail of the screening wall that is proposed by the dumpster, and provide the detail for the fill for the well, based on what the engineer's letter said for that. And then also address the concern in the fire marshal's letter about presenting in writing what is planned to be stored.
I
And that-
mentioned addressing the fire marshal.
Oh, okay.
So I'll amend my motion with the 2 additional items.
Yes.
Clear, so, and you should probably add in your motion that you're approving the special land use and site plan as proposed. You have 2, you have special land use approval and site plan approval.
Oh, okay. Amend it to that, to include the site plan and the.
So amended.
And do we want to specifically make sure that we're also addressing the secondary piece of information provided on April 14th? Do we need to be that specific, since we actually have a site plan and then additional information?
That's not necessary.
Or the
Okay.
package.
All right, got it. Okay. We have a motion, we have a second to approve the special land use and the site plan provided, as long as it's in compliance, subject to limiting the hours, limiting the items of sale customary to the business for that location. The fire marshal's letter will be adhered to in all items mentioned. Storage of the items outdoor will be no higher than the current wall. The ADA rules will be followed for parking. Sign permits will be obtained when necessary. The development impact study will be waived and provide details relative to the fill and makeup of the concrete wall as designated in the building official's letter.
The screening wall
Screening wall, thank you.
for the dumpster.
Thank you, screening wall for the dumpster. I missed that part.
And the pavement of the entrance, the compaction of the.
Ah,
Yeah,
The fill for the well.
The film, okay. Well, we will mention compaction specifically since that was talked about. Okay, anything else? Okay, any,
You guys remember all that?
yeah, it's there. Melody, did you get all that?
You'll get a copy of the minutes.
You'll get a copy. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please, Ms. Oparka.
Member Devlin,
Yes.
Member Oparka, yes. Member Vyzanko,
Yes.
Chair Murray.
Yes. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Unfinished business, housing focused zoning ordinance amendments. Mr. Young.
All right, I'll pull this up here. So not the last meeting, because we had a full agenda at the last meeting, but the meeting prior, we discussed we're looking at potential zoning ordinance amendments. This is related to some of the recommendations that were coming from the township's master plan. And we had, one of the questions that we had provided you a draft of amendments dated March 14th, 2025. We don't have a new draft for you. That's still the most current draft. One of the things that was brought up for you to at least consider is, do we want to think about accessory dwelling units? I don't think there was strong support for that. You did ask me to check and see if any of our neighbors, surrounding communities, have they regulated them, have they allowed them, that kind of a thing, and then report back, and that might help influence your decision one way or the other here. I did look at all of your adjoining communities, and I could not find any. That includes St. Clair Shores, Chesterfield, Clinton, and Mount Clemens. None of them appear to address and allow accessory dwelling units at present. So, we brought that forward just as a, since we're going through this exercise, is that something we wanted to consider? Not because the building department, for example, has expressed that they're receiving calls daily for requests in that
Really?
regard. They're not. No, I'm saying that they're not, so.
It's like wide leg jeans, they just haven't got here yet.
Sure. So if it's not anything that is a pressing issue, then we can move on if you would agree with that. And of course, we can always change our minds later and address it if there's a reason to do that. The second thing, and I don't have too much for you this evening, but the second thing is we went through, if you recall, an evaluation of the current zoning districts, particularly the residential zoning districts. We had kind of thought that there was a mismatch maybe in terms of what's required versus established development in the township's residential neighborhoods, in terms of lot sizes, in terms of setbacks. And if you remember, included in the March 14th draft was our analysis. So we actually looked at all of the properties zoned R1A, for example, R1B, R1C, R1D. And we had found, not in the R1A or the R1B necessarily, but in the R1C and R1D in particular, where to the tune of 40-50% of all established lots do not meet the current minimum lot size for those particular districts. And that has come up on a number of occasions. It was something actually that came up from township administration not long ago. And I think we hear about this often where property owners are in one of these subdivisions. Maybe they purchase an adjacent property, combine it for taxing benefits, and then they don't realize that, my family member wants to build one next door, so there's truly a lot that's identical to the ones on either side of them and the majority of the homes in the neighborhood. And our ordinance says, oh, sorry, since it's been combined, they're non-conforming, so you cannot create a new lot in there. So that's caused an issue. And we often see this where we have these undersized properties. it's one thing in a greenfield site where we have large areas of undeveloped land and we're dictating where new development would occur, but we're largely a built out community here. So the reason that we would have so many non-conforming properties in terms of lot area and width, it's not good practice necessarily. So what we had looked at is, okay, there may be specific neighborhoods, for example, that probably shouldn't be zoned R1B, should rather be zoned R1C, because that's the established lot area, lot size. And we kind of realized that maybe for the R1C and R1D, that we could consider maybe reducing the minimum lot size slightly, and that will help correct, not all, certainly not all, but a good number of the non-conforming parcels. One of the things that you had said is, okay, can you bring us a map so that we can kind of look at and delve into some of these areas? So that's what I've done in the draft here. Pull it up on screen, and you can kind of see some of the areas that are at least areas that you could consider potential changes. First, as you recall, one of the things we had talked about is the R1 single-family residential district, which is it's this dark green. The only properties zoned R1 are the Metro Park, this dark. This light green is not the dark green, so then we're not talking about that. It's the Metro Park and it's the golf course. There really is no reason to have them zoned R1. So the thought, this is actually coming from the master plan, was a recommendation that we should create a recreation and open space district that is specifically designed to preserve it, open space recreational uses. And so here now we can just kind of see what the impact of that change. Essentially, it would have no impact to the Metro Park and it would have no impact to the golf course. If they wanted to sell the golf course in the future, then they would have to come to us and propose a new district if the new owner or whatever wanted to build a subdivision or something like that. Kind of gives us more control in that regard. If the Metro Park would sell off a piece of their property, I doubt they would, but what if they did, then we would have more control in terms of what it could go in the future. Yeah.
Can we add the Harley Ensign to that?
Yeah, so that's something, I'll make a note of that too. Which one, Amanda?
It's that parcel.
This right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
parcel.
So that's the
DNR.
DNR
Well,
part. Yeah, there's the boat launch down here too.
yeah.
It's in the village district though. This property, I believe, maybe is owned by the DNR. And then one that we could also add, a couple that I had noted, and maybe this is another candidate as well that we could add to the list. The property is just south of Selfridge, that Selfridge has recently purchased and now owns, and has no intent to develop. That would be a candidate to go to recreation and open space. These former subdivided properties, which is now essentially one owner, one property now, the Metro Park.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have these shown as residential, so this would be another candidate to go for recreation and open space. The township's property, the very large property that the township owns, is another candidate for recreation and open space as well.
Spillway property, potentially?
So that could be something too. Yeah, the spillway, this property that encompasses both sides, so you can add that as a note as well. So not asking for any decisions tonight, just kind of, you would ask let's look at the map as we evaluate these.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think adding the properties, like especially the spillway, that property that the township owns, those are issues where people come in and say, well, the township's gonna sell that off and
Yeah.
build a subdivision
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
like,
Right.
it would just clear some of those things up. It clears up the brigantine issue. I think you could leave the DNR boat launch.
Okay,
That's
the one in the village district.
The one
yeah.
in the village district, I think that could stay. Like, I don't think it needs to disrupt that zoning.
That definitely, because right now that's listed as residential waterfront mixed use. So, to make that
Yeah.
dedicated fits with Metro Beach.
Okay. A couple of other spots here. So I'll kind of go to this. So in the as I said, in the R1C and R1D, we had contemplated potentially reducing the minimum lot size. For the R1C, it's currently 9,600 square feet, reducing it to 8,400 square feet, which is currently what the R1D is. And the R1D, potentially reducing it to 7,260. That would be, I think, 1/6 of an acre, I believe. So that would alleviate a lot of the non-conforming uses or non-conforming properties. But additionally, there seems to be a mismatch a little bit. So if you kind of remember the colors here for the R1A, B, C, and D. So in this central portion of the township here, you have this subdivision that is zoned R1B, that pretty much all of those lots are not conforming to the R1B, but they would conform to the R1C. So this development here could be a candidate to change to the R1C. This here, the bright yellow, is the R1A. These lots are very much undersized for the R1A district, and if we wanted to bring 90% of these into compliance, we'd have to go to the R1D district. So that's a potential. This small area here, which is currently R1B, all of these lots are undersized, and an easy, simple fix would be to go to R1C, and that would alleviate the non-conforming conditions there. And then lastly, this was coming from the master plan. This is R1M. This is the the former hospital complex, not the hospital which is on the bigger property, but the undeveloped small 5-acre parcel next to it. And we've had that come before us. We've evaluated that before. The master plan shows it not as multifamily, but as single family. And so that would be a candidate to protect that property, to have a downzoning to single family in R1C. Why did we say R1C? I'll look at which, I don't know if, it probably is more appropriate just to have it downzone to what is adjacent to
I was
it.
just going to say, because R1C then would allow,
I maybe just did a copy and paste and didn't change the number right there, but I'll make a note of that. But anyway, the thought is that that would be a candidate to downzone that small piece. As the township essentially, their planning commission expressed that.
well, okay, so it's currently R1C to the west and south, so.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it is R1C.
It is.
The bright
It
yellow
is.
is R1C, yeah.
Yep, so you're okay.
So yeah, R1C would make sense there. It would be the same as the adjacent property.
Yeah, I was thinking it was R1D.
Again, I'm not asking for, we don't need to make a final decision, but just looking for your comments at this point, concerns in that regard.
The hospital is not in our,
The hospital in
not
the
in the
master
purple?
plan, in the purple, in the village,
Yeah, I thought it.
it
oh,
is
was.
in the DDA.
Okay, oh, it's in the DDA, it's not in the
Yes.
village district. That's correct.
Correct. So that is.
We went back and forth on that.
Yeah.
a lot.
So it's presently zoned RM1, and it, unless you direct us otherwise, it would stay RM1. But it's this additional undeveloped piece.
It's just that it's surrounded solely by single residential R1D and R1C.
Yeah.
Which is why we ultimately didn't end up including that.
Yeah.
in the thought
But I
was-
think also the fact that it is an existing building, and that it would be, you turn that site that includes a large
Yeah.
2-story building to a single-family residential district, and that alleviates pretty much all options that they have, except to tear it down. If it stays RM1, then at least they could propose maybe some reuse of the existing building.
Or some mixed use or something.
Or mixed use. Yeah, or maybe a PUD, that would, because it's a larger size, it could be a candidate for an B or something like
Now, you could put an ADU in that backyard.
that. So those are just things I wanted to bring for your discussion this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. This piece right here is another candidate to the ROS. So we just looked at this, or the owner had a request. And, we need to,
I like that a lot.
this
Yeah, I think
is
it'd be wise.
single family, but as we learned, it's entirely wetlands. It's even has deed restricted as well, so this is another candidate where there's no reason to have that as single family. That should just show as a recreation and open space.
Yeah, I noticed you like that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's it. Of course, we can always take the opportunity to incorporate the changes that have already been adopted, rezonings, like, this piece is now commercial. That was a year or two ago.
Yeah, let's take the opportunity to clean it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But all of these, this would be a change to the zoning map, so we'd have to do public hearings and we'd have to notify property owners. It'd be a lot of work, actually, to notify all the property owners, quite frankly.
That's a lot of.
Can't you just do
a lot
it
of
in the
letters.
newspaper then?
Well, so the rule is if
No?
11 contiguous parcels, in that case, you don't have to do the 300 feet letters. But like this one is not more than 11. This one is just an individual. This is a single parcel. So for all of the ones that are individuals or 11 or less parcels, we'd have to do the 300-foot letters.
But it would be worth it. It would be the
Yeah.
opportunity to explain to them
Yeah.
that this truly is an advantage, not taking anything away, not
Right?
making things worse.
Those residents on Ballard would be thrilled.
Well, I think it would also show that there is quite a bit of recreational and open space property in the township. And it would show where it's appropriate for higher density residential to take advantage of those areas. And it would be accurate.
That's right.
Colors.
The key.
Can we get better colors for the map?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More baby puke colors or cat puke.
Well, and the hard part is trying to find enough colors that are so
Yeah.
different from each other that it's
Yeah.
recognizable.
And I know the yellows are generally residential. It's just like so many ugly yellow colors.
It's been that way for, a long time.
So as I mentioned,
We're a waterfront community. They should be shades of blue.
Yeah, it should be a series
I
of blue,
agree.
right?
so in the memo that I provided to you, I don't have this materials for your review yet, but topics for future meetings, looking at site plan review process to just make sure that we're being efficient there, parking formulas for residential uses, just making sure that those are appropriate and that we have particularly residential care facilities are defined and have appropriate formulas. Looking at the various development options that we have, the clustering option, the open space development option, the planned unit development option, making sure that we're compliant with state law, but also that the process makes sense for us, that we don't have unnecessary barriers or hurdles to good development.
Like the required minimum size of planned.
That's one thing specifically that we had previously talked about that we'll be, looking at, but that'll be additional materials. So maybe the next meeting I'll have an updated draft that includes what we had talked about a couple months ago. And you did have a couple of comments from what we presented a couple months ago, which I'll make sure to incorporate in
Yeah.
the draft as well.
So the length of temporary uses, is that something you don't want to address the same time as residential
Well,
changes?
yeah, so there's a couple of other things that we know that we've brought up. Technically, it's not residential related, but we might as well kind of do it at the same time. So those are some things that we'll have some throw-ins, these things that are on our to-do list. that we
Okay,
talked
perfect.
about.
Anything else?
That's all I have for you tonight.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate that summary.
Yeah. New business, correspondence, comments from the planner.
Okay, we have one request from Ali Lubabi at Captain's Party Store. This is for fireworks sales, so temporary fireworks sales. I looked back, he applied to us about this time last year and is wanting to do exactly what he had last time, so no changes. I'm scrolling down to the site plan here that shows. Yeah, sorry.
Can I just say, I like how there are like 6 lines provided for the statement, a couple of statements, and the applicant's response is no. Maybe we could get this to one page.
NA.
Yep. So as you can see here, in that portion of the site, that's just green space right now is where he has put up his tent. He did that last year. So this goes through the clerk's department. The clerk is required per the ordinance to then send it to the planning commission for review. And then the planning commission's responsibility, here's a better view of that property. Where he wants to put the tent here.
Usual space.
Yeah, yeah. So here's the code. The clerk shall forward a copy of the fireworks application to the planning commission, who shall determine whether the proposed activity is consistent with the uses permitted within the zoning district. And either you endorse approval or disapproval of the application and return it to the township clerk. So this property is zoned general commercial, and as we determined last year, it's generally consistent with the uses that are allowed in the general commercial district.
And it's going in the same spot?
Same spot as last year, yes. Yeah.
Same time frame, same restrictions.
I would say we've never had an issue with this, and it's probably been.
Right.
5, 6, maybe
yeah,
more.
Yes,
Maybe even
yeah.
more than that, years, like.
Several years. Yeah. So if you so choose, you should pass it or make a motion to forward or make a motion to recommend approval or denial to the township clerk.
Okay. Anyone?
I will make a motion to recommend approval for the township clerk.
Thank you.
Support.
Mr. Parka, Mr. Rosenko. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And I have one other thing for you is the tech team that we had a couple of days ago. There was just one agenda item from Dos Bumpers, the new restaurant next to Bumpers Lane, next to Bumpers. This is Paul Shamo is the owner. He's looking at improvements along the waterfront, some outdoor seating areas, and the request that came before the tech team was for some fencing for that outdoor seating area, and that was approved.
It's called Dos Bumpers.
Yes,
Is it going to be Mexican cuisine?
I believe it's Mexican.
Oh, okay.
Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex. That's right. Tex-Mex.
Okay.
Those bumpers.
I just thought they would
Okay,
expand.
We don't have
to
that.
space.
We don't have that in the township yet, so.
That's all I have for you.
Thank you. Comments from the floor? Mr. Senstock. It's okay, you're not alone.
Excuse me. Yeah, I wanted to just ask a couple questions first about this rezone or the zoning changes you're talking about. And one of the things that I noticed in going through here is that, let me get my little things out here, is that every one of the residential districts allows adult foster care family homes. And either 1 to 6 people or 7 to 12. I live in a 4,000 square foot house. I'm by myself, and I couldn't live with 6 people in my house. Why is this recommended here? That's ridiculous. And in addition, for somebody to have to live next door to this place, I don't care if they're really quiet or they stay in the house 100% of the time or whatever they do, why should the people that are on both sides of this house have to put up with this guy making a bunch of money? In fact, I was told, I'm aware of some of these foster care places, that in many cases where it says they're supposed to be on site, the resident or the owner is supposed to be on site, they're not there. In addition, the owner has to have a certain number of worker bees. Caretakers, whatever you want to call them. Every one of them's got a car. Where are they going to park? Where are they going to, I look at my house, they couldn't even park in my driveway. So,
Rule is 1 for 7.
I'm looking at it and say 1 to 6, maybe 1 to 2, even 3 possibly, but 1 to 6, come on, that's ridiculous. So that's what my comment on that issue. I realize you guys are not really doing anything right at the moment with it, but I wanted to get my 2 cents in, and of course, you know I do 2 cents a lot.
So you would like us to put this on the list for a workshop
Potential.
discussion for correction or
Yeah.
zeroing in on the
I can.
Especially
Madam
where it
Chair.
says group homes of, small foster group homes 7 to 12. Those do not require, according to your definitions here, does not require that the owner be on site. So they just put it out and, hey, you can use my home, and have 7 people show up, including their guests and their relatives and all that stuff. Come on, why should somebody have to put up with that next to their own house?
Madam Chair, I can,
Yes, sir.
I can respond to this after
Thank
the
you.
gentleman's comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. I
Okay.
got a little more time, don't I?
Yeah, I didn't set the timer, but please.
Oh,
be-
good.
Yeah, please be mindful.
One of my head's going.
We're not here till 9.
The other thing that I wanted to ask about is, and you did mention it that tonight, that that site over there that was recently rezoned from marina to, or from residential to marina, that whole site was a full PUD. That included the residential, that included the condos, and that included the marina. And my reading of the PUD ordinance says that if you're going to change that, which they wanted to change it, that it has to go in front of the, and be discussed as a PUD. So I know there's some attorneys involved in it, and they'll probably get into court to resolve it, but I personally think that rezoning was in error. And the gentleman, I was there the night he did it, and I told the planning commission there was deed restrictions. That gentleman never once mentioned the deed restrictions, and he bought the property. They've been registered with the county forever, since 1990, and it clearly says that there cannot be any rezoning on that property, period. So I just wanted to advise you guys that, I think you did something wrong there, and the township board did something wrong by not doing their homework too. So anyhow, have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Bardell.
Let me start the timer.
C. William Bardell, clean cut boy next door, 37865 Point Rosa. I want to have a question about this potential zoning ordinance amendments. I'm wondering, is Selfridge Air Base going to be designated as an open space, and also Kwame Golf Course? And I was to understand that R1 was actually better than the open space. Am I wrong? Am I wrong on that? Those are my 2 questions. And I also want to say, I want to talk about these group homes. On these group homes with 6 people or whatever, the problem that we have in Harrison Township, which is a good problem, is a lot of the noise and the boats and all that stuff. That's why we moved here. But for a handicapped home, for, mentally challenged and so forth that live in these places, I'm sure the noise would not be beneficial to the people that live there. Also, most group homes, the owners never, ever, ever live there. They're on the golf course. And the biggest problem that we have in the township probably would be the streets aren't wide enough. And the parking, the only place you could put those would be in North Point subdivision because the streets are wider. Usually you would have, in those group homes, you can't park in the driveway. If you go to visit a resident, you have to park in the street, plus you got the workers have to park in the street because they have to have, those garages have to be accessible, and then there's like a church bus in the driveway, basically, to drive the residents around. But the way our township is designed and located, the streets are just not wide enough. And if you think that the owner of these group homes is going to be at the group home, no, he doesn't live there. None of them live there. They're living somewhere else, or they're in Florida, or they're on the golf course. They don't live in those places with those people. I would recommend keeping it to maybe 3 people at the most. And I understand that, there could be care for elderly, about 3 elderly people, or maybe 3 handicapped people. But again, most of our streets are too narrow. The only place you might be able to put it would be in the North Point subdivision, or some of those larger McMansion areas. But, that's my concern, and the other concern would be with the
Time.
You kept track? Thank you.
Even gave him 20 seconds grace.
well, the concern would be about Selfridge. If that's going to be added to the open spaces and the Kwame Golf Course. And what is the advantage of open space as would that be better than R1, or is open space actually better?
Thank you, Mr. Bardo. Our next meeting, Thursday, June 18th,
So
About-
this is the June 18th, actually Wednesday, because
Oh.
there's a holiday on the Thursday.
Oh.
June 19th is a holiday,
Oh,
right? So that's why you have this as June 18th. So this would be a Wednesday. Some people might not be able to make a Wednesday.
that's a good point.
I will be out of the country for next meeting.
Oh, Juneteenth. Okay, well, it's on the calendar as June 18th, that Wednesday. Okay. Okay, thank you for noting that, though. Okay.
The township offices are probably not even open on the 18th.
Okay. So, and actually, I'll back it up as part of the comments from the floor.
I mean, on the 19th, sorry.
Mr. Young, did you want to address any of the comments
Yeah.
that were made tonight?
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the comments that you had made, the planning commission, on that March 14th draft of the zoning amendments was with regard to the adult foster care, 7 to 12. Considering not allowing those in the residential districts, or at least maybe the R1D, R1C. We'll have to look into that. As far as the 1 to 6, so the state law right now does not allow us to not allow those. The state law specifically says
And they rule.
they are a residential use of property, not subject to any other approvals beyond what we would subject a single-family home to. They are licensed, state regulated. We have no
authority.
oversight on those whatsoever. They're all regulated by the state. So as much as we'd like to say 3 or less, we can't. 6 or less is state law. 7 to 12, we do have the ability to say require special land use approval, or to say not appropriate in certain districts. And that was the comment that you had. So we're looking into that. So thank you for those comments.
Those cover seniors as well, right?
Yeah, adult foster care. So really, it's kind of adult daycare, essentially.
But not
which is a-
necessarily people that are mobile and getting on buses and stuff.
Sure.
It's as well, right? It's also seniors who are less able to.
I think probably it's more likely
Live
is
alone.
the
Yeah,
case.
right, more likely, yeah.
Yeah. they need specialized care.
It's very expensive.
And then the discussion relative to R1 being better or worse than the green space?
Yeah, we may want to reach out to Selfridge and ask them what they would prefer, share the options with them.
Well,
I was gonna bring that up, but, when we were looking at the map, because I had that thought about Selfridge, but
the government just extended the contract. We're getting a whole new flight
Yeah.
through, so.
I mean, we can zone it the open space. It's always been zoned residential.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're gonna do what
I
they-
do think it's worth asking.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of
I'm
Yeah.
not sure we have jurisdiction.
rule that property.
Yeah, I
I think
think
it's worth
that's what I
asking.
mean. I think it's worth asking Selfridge.
Yeah.
My instinct says, the golf course is
green space.
is being proposed
Yeah.
to be green space.
Yeah.
Which would then require them to come in here to get it rezoned to any type of residential or any type of other zoning.
If it
Whereas
changes-
if we had it zoned residential, they could come in and say, we're building homes here. And it's,
Doesn't matter,
right?
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it gives us more protection in that sense, I think.
That's good.
It makes sense for us.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, next meeting Wednesday,
Let's say
June 18th, 2025. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Ms. Devlin, Mr. Vyzenko. 8:55. Thank you very much. Meeting is ended.